Welcome to Voice of Stories. Discover tales that inspire, captivate, and bring words to life. Subscribe for unforgettable stories.
A journey through turbulence. The faint hum of the engines echoed through the cabin as passengers settled into their seats, eagerly awaiting takeoff. My heart raced with excitement as I gazed out of the airplane window, marveling at the sprawling runway and the blue skies that promised a picturesque journey to Hawaii. This was supposed to be a much-needed break, a chance to relax and bask in the beauty of a place I had only seen in magazines. But life has a peculiar way of surprising us, and what began as an idyllic flight would soon turn into an unforgettable chapter of my life. As I leaned back into my seat, savoring the moment, a loud shuffle broke my reverie. A passenger hurried down the aisle, bumping into seats and other travelers as she made her way to the spot beside me. I barely glanced at her, my focus still on the view outside. But then came the sharp scent of perfume, strong enough to turn heads, and a voice that jolted me out of my calm. Well, if it isn't Jake. Fancy seeing you here." I turned to face her, my stomach sinking like a lead balloon. The face was familiar, too familiar. It was Rachel, my ex-girlfriend from middle school, the last person I ever wanted to encounter, let alone sit next to for hours. "Rachel," I said tersely, nodding in acknowledgement, hoping that would be the end of it. But Rachel had other plans. She launched into a tirade of memories, most of which involved mocking me. "Remember how you dropped out of high school? And look at you now, flying in economy class. Some things never change," she sneered, her words cutting like knives. I clenched my jaw, determined not to engage. Instead, I turned my gaze back to the window, hoping the scenic takeoff would drown out her chatter. But Rachel wasn't done. She switched gears, bragging about her perfect life, her wealthy husband, her luxurious vacations, and how lucky she was to have escaped her small-town beginnings. "You wouldn't understand, Jake," she said with a smirk. "This kind of life isn't for everyone." I bit my tongue, refusing to rise to her bait. But as much as I tried to ignore her, her words stirred memories I had buried long ago. Memories of how we had dated in middle school, how she had belittled me even then, and how our relationship had ended on a sour note after my father's tragic death. Back then, Rachel's selfishness and lack of compassion had been glaring. When my family needed me most, she had been more concerned about the time I wasn't spending with her. Breaking up with her had been a relief, but the aftermath was anything but. She had spread lies and rumors about me, turning friends against me and painting herself as the victim. It was a painful period of my life, but one I had moved past, or so I thought. As Rachel continued to ramble, I tuned her out, focusing on the hum of the engines. The plane began taxiing, and for a brief moment the excitement of flying dulled the tension between us. But then came the unexpected announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen, we need immediate assistance. If there is a doctor on board, please make yourself known to the crew." The cabin buzzed with concern. Rachel, ever the drama queen, gasped loudly. "Oh my God, do you think someone's dying?" I ignored her, but moments later the announcement escalated. "Is there anyone on board who can operate an aircraft? Please come forward immediately." A collective gasp rippled through the passengers. People exchanged nervous glances, whispering in hushed tones. Even Rachel seemed momentarily at a loss for words. The flight attendants moved swiftly, scanning the cabin for someone, anyone, who could help. One of them stopped abruptly, her eyes locking onto mine. Relief washed over her face as she approached. "Jake, is that you?" she asked urgently. "Yes," I replied, already sensing what was coming next. "You're a pilot, aren't you?" Rachel's jaw dropped. "You're a pilot?" she blurted out, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Yes," I said simply, rising from my seat. The flight attendant quickly explained the situation. Both the captain and co-pilot had fallen ill, likely due to food poisoning. A doctor on board was attending to them, but neither was in any condition to continue flying. The aircraft needed someone experienced to take control. As I made my way to the cockpit, Rachel grabbed my arm. "Wait, are you seriously going to fly this plane? You?" "Yes," I said firmly, pulling away, "and you should probably buckle up." Inside the cockpit, the reality of the situation hit me like a ton of bricks. The controls were familiar, but the weight of responsibility was immense. The co-pilot, though conscious, was pale and sweating profusely. He managed to brief me on the aircraft's status before stepping aside. Taking a deep breath, I adjusted the seat and reached out to the control tower. The voice on the other end guided me through the next steps, their calm demeanor a source of reassurance. As the plane leveled out, I glanced at the horizon. The sky stretched out endlessly, a vivid tapestry of blue and white. It was a sight that never failed to inspire me, a reminder of why I had chosen this path. Landing the plane was no small feat, but with the control tower's guidance and the crew's support, I managed to bring us down safely. Applause erupted in the cabin as the plane touched down, and a wave of relief swept over me. Rachel, however, looked stunned. She avoided my gaze as I walked past her. A mix of embarrassment and disbelief etched on her face. After the passengers disembarked, I stayed behind to complete the necessary paperwork and debrief with the crew. By the time I reached my friend's restaurant in Hawaii, the sun had already set. Bob, the restaurant owner, greeted me with a hearty laugh. "Heard you had quite the adventure, Jake, saving a plane full of people. Just another day in the life of a hero, huh?" I chuckled, shaking my head. Not exactly how I planned my vacation, but I'll take it. As we talked, a familiar voice interrupted. "Jake?" I turned to see Rachel standing there, her usual confidence replaced with hesitation. Beside her was a well-dressed man who introduced himself as Daniel, Rachel's husband. "It's nice to meet you," Daniel said warmly. "Rachel told me about you, her old classmate. She didn't mention you were a pilot." Rachel shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact. I decided to keep our history to myself, not wanting to stir up unnecessary drama. Over the next few days, I enjoyed my time in Hawaii, relishing the beauty of the island and catching up with Bob. But Rachel's words lingered in my mind, a stark reminder of how far I had come. Months later, I ran into Daniel at an airport. He looked different, tired and worn, but also lighter, as if a burden had been lifted. He shared that he and Rachel had divorced, citing irreconcilable differences. "She wasn't who I thought she was," Daniel admitted, his voice heavy with regret. "But I'm grateful I found out before it was too late." As he walked away, I felt a sense of closure. The past has a way of catching up to us, but it also has the power to shape us into stronger, wiser individuals. Looking up at the sky, I smiled. The clouds were thick, but I knew that above them the sun was shining, a reminder that no matter how turbulent life gets, there's always a clear sky waiting.